Silver right here is more than a shiny metal. It's essential to the green energy movement as we know it has direct impacts with solar panels. But what happens when a new technology, just a few billionths of a meter wide, threatens to change the game? Yes, folks, I was reading the newspaper today and I saw this article right here. U.S. producer of solar panels power up with quantum dots. Quantum dots. Did a bit of research of that because I was like, uh-oh, if something is shaking up the world of solar, and we know that solar has a giant impact, millions of ounces a year in silver for solar, then what does that mean? Is it going to replace it? Well, here we go, folks. According to my research, which I read that and did a little bit more, right now, silver is one of the key materials to traditional silicon-based solar panels. It is used in the form of silver paste, which carries electricity generated by the sunlight across the surface of the panel. Sorry if I'm getting deep here, but this is going to help you understand. In fact, solar energy is one of the largest industrial consumers of this silver. The solar sector alone is estimated to use over 100 million ounces every single year. 100 million ounces. That's just crazy. So when solar expands, this little piece of silver right here tends to rise in value. That's one of the reasons silver bulls often point to solar adaptation as a long-term drive for price. So let's talk about these quantum dots, as they call them. That is the new player in the solar scene. These are microscopic, little bitty tiny semiconductor crystals, just a few nanometers wide, that can be engineered to absorb specific wavelengths of light. That means that they can potentially capture more of the sun's energy than traditional materials, including possibly this right here. Some quantum dot designs even promise something called multiple excitron generation, which I had no idea what that was, which is where a photon of light creates more than one electron, which is a huge jump in potential efficiency. And efficiency, you know, drives dollars. Now, here's where things get serious for you silver investors. Now we don't know, but if quantum dot solar panels become widely adopted, especially the non-silicone based design, that would require far less of this and potentially none at all, depending on exactly how it would be adopted. Why? Because the advanced materials may rely on graphene and carbon nanotubes, or possibly other forms of what we consider conductive ink instead of that silver paste, which I believe is a bismuth product, but I can't remember. That could seriously cut into the demand of solar industry, which again makes up a huge portion of our industrial use of silver. Now let's break it down into some possible scenarios, because I'm not exactly sure where this could lead, this quantum dot technology, but here's some likely possibilities according to the research I've done. So the most likely near-term outcome would be quantum dots are added on top of the silicone cells to boost the efficiency. In that case, silver usually is going to stay about the same, or it might even grow depending on the panel production. So they'd still have the silver-based gel laid out and they'd put those on top. So what about number two? Less likely but possible is that you'd have a hybrid model that may use some silver, which could basically keep the demand right where it needs to be, but it also could shift it into new forms as we integrate new technology. And what happens in scenario 3? Quantum dots replace silicone and eliminate silver. This is the most disruptive case, as makes sense for silver. If a breakthrough allows for manufacturers to mass produce solar cells that use no silver, silver demand could drop significantly. And that depends on basically the quantum dot production. And here's the bad part about that. The quantum dots have been existing for years. In fact, many of you probably have them in your house. If you have a QLED, the Q is the quantum dot. So you know that the technology has been flying towards the future when it comes to how do we adapt this technology to other things. So in that third scenario, the silver price could come under pressure, especially if the global solar capacity continues to expand without needing this. So we could see a significant drop. So you need to be paying attention to quantum dots and how they are being used in solar panels and what that means for this, because it could mean that, yes, we see a day where silver is back under $20, which would make me so happy as a collector. Many of you would be very upset about that, which I get, and that's okay. So we're not going to panic. I don't think anybody should panic. Silver isn't a one-trick metal, as we know. It still has demand for other electronics, electric vehicles, 5G, medical tech, and antimicrobial products. But even with solar, many countries and companies are years away, and I do mean years because this is a brand new article from switching their silicone-based panels, because a lot of people already have their panels in place. The amount of money it would take to strip those and put in new ones, I don't think most people that have already got the infrastructure out there are willing to do that. So that being said, I don't think we're going to see anything anytime soon, but as those panels expire and people upgrade new panels and or new panels are put in places they don't already exist, that's where we might see a shift depending on how this works. So what does that mean for you, investors or collectors like me or anyone who holds silver? Well, it means that the role in silver's green revolution is not guaranteed. It means that new technology like quantum dots could reduce or disrupt demand. We don't know. But it also means that being informed, you people listening, is more important than ever. If you want to track tech like quantum dots, it maybe will give you an edge, whether you're stacking coins or generic silver or cool silver crystals like this, given to me, by the way, by a viewer named Mr. Hebden, and he's selling some. If you want some cool silver crystals like that, email me, culturecurrency@gmail.com, and I'll get y'all in contact. Never too busy to sell some cool products by our viewers. So basically, that's what we have. I saw this article. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really, really interesting with the quantum dot technology. Knowing that's in TVs I have in my house, odds are it's already in TVs you have in your house if you have one of those QLED products. And the potential is there that we see the industrial demand go down quite a bit, because we're talking about hundreds of millions of ounces of silver that aren't needed. Then the demand very well could go down, because we know industrial silver makes up a overwhelming majority of the marketplace when it's bought as it stands today. So don't put all your pennies in one basket here, folks. I think it's pennies. No, it's eggs. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And remember, as always, to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.